Live from Ittner Architects, this is Issues in Education. Here to lead a roundtable discussion with leaders in education is moderator John Carney on KTRS.
It is 10:53. We come to you live from Tantera down at the Lake of the Ozarks for the Missouri School Board Association's 2015 annual conference, and a good time to have the Issues in Education roundtable because, well, everybody's here. It's brought to you by Ittner Architects. And in this segment, taking us up to news, we're going to get into early childhood education. And we have with us now Dr. Jim Simpson, who's the superintendent at Lindbergh Schools. And Lindbergh Schools, of course, one of the top-rated in the state as far as academic achievement goes. We have Dr. Kevin Carl, also a superintendent, Hancock Place School Districts on the city's south side in St. Louis. And we have Dr. Damon Kizzire, superintendent of Kirksville School District. Little intimidating, gentlemen, as I'm the only one here who's not a doctor. So
it's overrated.
Thank you for coming in, guys. I appreciate it. So we get to early childhood education, and what I've picked up in the other conversations we've had along the way is maybe not as much emphasis is placed on early education as maybe there should be. I mean, it's just one man's perspective, but it seems that way. It's college preparatory. We got to get you ready for college. Here come the colleges to recruit. We're going to look into that. We're giving scholarships to kids that are headed to college. You're in kindergarten, you're in second grade, you're not getting that type of attention. So is it replaced with other attention? Who wants it?
Well, I would like to say that, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. If you do not have kids prepared to enter school, how are you going to have them ready to go on into the college and career readiness piece of that? So it works really well together, and the earlier that you can catch a child and prepare them for kindergarten and K through 12 education, the better off they'll be from there.
You know, for me, I think sometimes the thought is that early childhood is really kindergarten, first and second grade, but really it's before that. It's what happens with our Parents as Teachers program, which is really birth to 3, and then our early childhood program, which is ages 3 and 4. That's really, when I think about early childhood education, it's the pre-elementary school preparation that's really so critical in getting kids ready.
This is off target just a little bit, but you had talked about the Parents as Teachers. One thing that has annoyed me, and I don't find it to be so true now with my kids, but as a parent, getting involved in, there's an event at the school or an event in the classroom, and we're there volunteering, and we got cupcakes. So many parents aren't. So what is the role of a board or a school to get parents to step up without offending them, saying, look, be part of your kid's life?
Well, I can give you a good example of something that we've just recently done. I think we have to take that to the parents. I think what we're finding is that parents are busy, and for them to get out to our schools, that's sometimes a challenge. We've just put in something called a free little library in our community, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a library that's stocked full of books that parents have access to right in their neighborhood, and so they can go and borrow a book and bring back a book. And so I think to continue to engage parents, we've got to make it accessible and convenient for them.
A lot of academic achievements being handed to Lindbergh Schools. Their superintendent, Dr. Jim Simpson, is here. Let's address that. Why do you think your numbers are so much higher than a lot of districts in the state? What's the secret? Or will you not share with us?
Well, we will share with you. We'll share that it's a lot of hard work, and a lot of districts do the same thing. All districts try to do the same thing. First off, let me get back to early childhood, and I want to get to the political side of the equation.
There we go.
Early childhood is essential. It's not even a question mark.
Sure.
Research, you could find no research that says that early childhood is not essential. So knowing that as a country, as a state, you would think that the legislature would fund the most essential years of a student's education. Because those windows open, and if you don't catch them while they're open, you will not catch them again, and that child will be handicapped in terms of academic skills their entire time. So the political side of the equation is it's time for Missouri to fund early childhood education. They know they should fund early childhood education. Missouri's future is hinged upon their education of their populace.
There's some money going there. There's got to be.
And so we're hopeful that the legislature actually steps up and does what they know is going to be a big home run for their state and for their children, and then fund early childhood education. Right now, we're funding it, or the parents are funding it.
Entirely?
Exactly. The DESE is not going to give you money for anybody who's under kindergarten age. That's not happening, unless there's special education, and then that's actually federal money coming through.
We got into a little bit of the money or lack thereof, but let's talk about the programs and the development of them. And just to boil it down, quite simply, what does it take to have a quality early education program?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to have highly qualified staff. You've got to have the right teachers who understand the uniqueness of students who are at that age. I mean, it's so critical, again, that early learning component of literacy, all the reading and writing, the mathematics, and they also have to understand beyond that just the social, emotional needs of kids. So you got to have the right adults engaging with the kids.
What has changed in early childhood education with the just onslaught of the diagnosis of ADHD and ADD? I mean, there's probably more kids on Ritalin than aren't, almost. Has it changed a teacher's perspective, a super's perspective, how you go at this?
Well, it definitely changes how you interact with your children. What I think you'll see coming in the future, all the way from early childhood through K-12, will be kind of a individual education program for each individual student based upon those needs, whatever, and a whole lot closer work with the parents and involvement with those kind of things. But, going back to what Kevin had said, the specialization of our teachers and our staff and working with those students is the key. At Kirksville, our early childhood program starts from 5 weeks all the way through to kindergarten, and it has several different components to it, with the special ed involved, trying to keep some of our high school parents involved, to come back and learn how to be better parents, as well as working with their own children, and then all the other special ed kids and regular ed kids, and working them together so that there's more understanding among students, among parents, and among our staff of the individual needs of kids.
We talked standardized testing a little bit early on and found that really starts in third grade, because reading is a component of that. What kind of litmus test is there for the pre-K, kindergarten, first, second grade kid? How do we determine how they're doing?
Well, on that, I would first off, there are assessments all the way up from the cradle. Now, they don't look like the third grade assessment where the child reads. They interact with adult one-on-one, but we have extensive assessments in which we can know exactly the development of a child, including the physical developments that are often missed by parents until they come to the school. They don't know their child's dyslexia.
Yeah.
When they come to us, we can give them the full spectrum of where we are on that, and we will pick up all the disorders that you just mentioned, and they are growing, and autistic children are a big part of education now, and we work with those children every day. But the assessments are very well founded and very successful, and they will give a true picture of the child's development at any age.
I would think, too, that it provides a unique set of challenges when you have a special need kid in the classroom, because a big part of it is, obviously, you want that kid to have a chance and to get a quality education, but because of some behavioral issues, it can also be distracting to some of the other kids in the class and take away from their learning, where there was a time where, Jimmy, you can't stop talking, you can't sit down, go to the principal's office so the rest of the class can study. That doesn't help Jimmy. So how do you do that balance where everybody gets attended to?
Again, with the early childhood, it's so critical to have a lot of adults and the right adults involved. So we have classroom teachers, we've got aides that are skilled as well, and so there's a lot more individualized attention just to do what you're talking about. That's to address the needs of that individual student who may need more support, but also provide the encompassing education for all the other students. So a lot of what happens there is that we've got the right people, and that we've got very, very small class sizes, because in the early learning program, too, in our situation, you'll find typically 10, maybe 12 students in a classroom with a couple of adults, and that helps quite a bit. And if I could piggyback off of what Dr. Simpson said just a little bit earlier in terms of standards, I think all of us probably use the Missouri Early Learning Standards as the criteria, so there are some expectations. It's not the tests, if you will, that we're used to, but there are very specific standards that our teachers are working on in assessing our students.
Dr. Simpson, let's go back to you and something you touched on last hour, and that was, I thought you were going to announce your candidacy for president, actually, at that time. But
well, we know it'd be early childhood would be a plank from that.
But we were talking about the money, and I want to get to this because I was reading that there is something that may be on the ballot a year and a half from now or 16 months from now that affects that very thing, that's going to earmark some money for early childhood development. What is it, and what are the chances of us voting on it?
Well, that's news to me, actually, but I hope there's something.
It's in my notes. You didn't get these?
You don't share your notes enough. I'm hopeful for that, but and actually we're headed that way. This is one of those situations in society where you're going this way. You just don't know it yet, but it's going to be the standard. And when Missouri gets on that, I'm not sure, but it will happen, and it's going to happen because without this in place, without the early childhood component in place, then Missouri will not be able to go where it wants to go, and that is going to be painfully clear to legislatures around the country, but in Missouri will come on board at that point, and they'll find the money, whether it's a vote from the people or they find a way to raise the cigarette tax, some of the things that they could do maybe to address this issue.
That is Dr. Jim Simpson. Also, Dr. Damon Kizzire is with us, and Dr. Kevin Carl, as we look at early childhood education, all part of the Issues in Education Roundtable, brought to you monthly on the Big 550 KTRS by Ittner Architects. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more thing we want to get to before we finish up, and certainly very timely. We were going to discuss it anyway, but certainly a lot of new questions to come up. Safety and security and protecting students and their staff. We will talk to specialists in that very area when we come back with more on the Big 550 KTRS.